Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. My name is Martin Warwick and I'm talking with Gerry Feeney, who is Head of Market Development SDN and NFV with NEC. Gerry, welcome. Thanks for talking to us. Start at the very beginning. What kind of value do NEC's SDN solutions actually provide?
Well, from a vendor perspective, we would look to add value to an operator, a carrier's network, in the way of CapEx, OpEx and new revenues. So we believe the drivers for CapEx will be network virtualization, getting better utilization from your infrastructure, also the ability to deploy your control plane and your virtualized network functions on high volume industry standard servers. On the OpEx side, we would look at programmability and the ability to automate your networks as being drivers for OpEx savings. And then, of course, there's the revenue opportunities. So as well as being able to deploy services quickly with SDN, service velocity, we would look at offering new ways to fine-tune your network on top of virtualized network overlays and therefore differentiate services to offer to your enterprise clients, your service provider clients, and indeed to residential end users. And this will create opportunities for new revenue streams, as well as being able to deliver those revenue streams more quickly and realise the benefits of these new business opportunities.
If you believe the hype machine, one would have thought that SDN and NFV leapt out of the wardrobe fully formed out of nowhere just this year. But that's not the case, is it? There's been a lot of talk about the virtual telco and virtualisation of the telco for a long time now. What role did NEC play in that SDN movement to development?
Well, SDN has been involved from the very, very outset. So we joined the Clean Slate programme at Stanford University back in 2008. And the first thing we became involved in was the collaborative R&D to develop a first open flow controller, an open source open flow controller, and indeed a reference switch. We then became involved in the standardization activities, initially with the development community at Stanford University. And then when the Open Networking Foundation was formed, we became fully involved in that. We were a leading participant in the work groups, and we shortly after developed our first prototype OpenFlow switch for trials.
So in the growing SDN developer and vendor community, what advantage does NEC offer?
I think what NEC offers uniquely in the SDN space is that we were the first to deliver an end-to-end OpenFlow-enabled solution with a controller and a range of switches. So our controller addresses the concerns of a single point of failure by being clustered, hot standby with auto failover. Our switches, we do a range of 1 gig and 10 gig switches for top-of-rack aggregation of core. I think a key thing of interest is that we do a large OpenFlow table in TCAM for line rate forwarding. And our switch range is hybrid. It supports current conventional layer 2 and layer 3 protocols for interop.
And can you share with us some of the successes of your business, some case studies, for example?
Yes, so we've had a number of early deployments, private and public cloud. An early public cloud deployment was Genesis Hosting in the US. More recently, we had a private cloud deployment with Nippon Express in Japan. Nippon Express was a logistics company, and they deployed initially our OpenFlow solution in their backup data center, and they've more recently deployed in their main data center as well. We've got some really interesting findings actually from Nippon Express in terms of their savings. One of the things that was very interesting is the fact that because we've moved from a model where you have to configure individual switches using vendor-specific skills to actually configuring the network at a central level, it means that they were able to use their own internal IT staff to manage the network. So they've actually saved a considerable amount of money by being able to terminate their contract with their systems integrator and just do it with their in-house staff. Another case study I should mention is NTT Communications. So NTT Communications have deployed a global enterprise cloud service, and this is based on a global network of data centers. The principle here is that the data centers are virtualized with an OpenFlow fabric supplied by NEC. Our branded programmable flow, open flow enabled solution. The links between the data centers are virtualized with conventional technologies. But what this means is that you're able to deploy virtual tenant networks within and across the data centers so that your global data center network can actually look like one big virtualized data center. And this has been a great benefit to NTT Communications.
And how about the future? Where do you go next?
Well, that's a good question, because NEC is very committed to continuing to develop our SDN solutions and indeed to innovate in the communication space per se. One of our main objectives, though, I think the key objective is to develop the technology with a roadmap in our products going forward to enable operators to really leverage the benefit of SDN, and we keep our gaze firmly fixed on the need for those CapEx savings, OpEx savings, and the need to allow operators to generate those new revenue streams. I think that's critical.
How do you know what operators actually want?
I think it's becoming very clear by way of the Open Networking Foundation and the ETSI ISG for network function virtualization, what operators want. So obviously we're dealing with operators very closely all the time, meetings with them to understand what they need, and we're very mindful of, got a keen ear for operator requirements. But as an active participant in both the Open Networking Foundation and the ETSI ISG, these are great forums, because the board of the Open Networking Foundation is really the users. It's the operators, it's the big enterprises, the web scale data center operators. And really this is them saying, this is what we need going forward. And they're inviting the vendor community to come forward with the solutions. And they work with the vendor community to come forward with the solution. So it's actually a similar model for the Open Networking Foundation, and more recently for the ETSI ISG for the network function virtualization technologies.
SDN, NFV, NFV, SDN, it sounds pretty much like a chicken and an egg situation. Which one came first, and which one will be used first, do you think?
I think it's fair to say that the SDN movement started first. The need to separate the control and the data plane, to abstract control functionality to a central point so that you can enjoy the benefits of programmability and automation of your overall network. So I think that was a principle that was accepted at a very early stage. And I think we're seeing now, or certainly NEC is seeing, real deployments in the data center. That's going to take a bit longer in the wide area network because of the challenges of interoperability, scalability, and the need for high availability. On the other hand, network function virtualization, it's synergistic, I think, with SDN, but it is different. Network function virtualization is a platform evolution, whereas SDN is a network evolution. So with NFV, you can containerize this evolution. So whereas, for example, 3GPP core network elements would have been perhaps on proprietary platforms more than a decade ago, migrating to ATCA, migrating to COTS platforms, now they're moving into this data center model where they can be virtualized, and you can scale out seamlessly, and you can enjoy the benefits of you can bring the benefits of the IT infrastructure to the telecom network. So I think that NFV now you'll start to see examples of NFV being deployed before wide area SDN. So to summarize and answer that question, I would say SDN for the data center now, and I would say coming very, very soon would be virtualized network functions for carrier networks.
And what about the impact on service providers? Is it going to be a total game changer, or will it be, as some are suggesting, no more than a rebranding of OSS?
No, I think it's going to be more than a rebranding of OSS. I think that I think you're going to see new deployment models, whereas perhaps once a carrier would have bought perhaps a solution from one vendor on a proprietary platform, maybe with a managed service as well. And what's going to happen now is that you're going to start breaking down the components of what you buy, maybe the platform from one vendor, maybe the software for a virtualized component from another vendor. And there will also be an opportunity for a systems integrator to put all this together. Indeed, one operator could be a systems integrator for another operator. One operator could be a host for another operator. For example, virtualized mobile core gives an operator with a mobile network a great opportunity to rapidly offer services to MVNOs, MVNAs. So I think that the technology deployment model and indeed the service model for operators will change. And one point I would also add is that perhaps the skill sets that are needed with an operator are going to change. I think whereas once they may have had teams of engineers who were trained to have specific skills around the vendor equipment installed in that network, or indeed they would have had relationships with systems integrators or managed services organisations. I think in future there'll be more of an emphasis on developing software on top of your SDN infrastructure, developing applications in-house, and developing orchestration enhancements, shall we say. So I think that the operators are either going to become more software development oriented, or they'll be buying those services in.
Gerry Feeney, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.